The frogs will be nice for history.
They're starting.
So, hey, Ginny, and then for Councilor Morton, like you mentioned before, is it possible for you to just call to say who is here?
Right. It's April 30th. It's 8:03, and this is the meeting of the Urban Renewal Budget Committee. And members present are Jenny Carlson, Councilor, Steve Topa, Councilor, Councilor Keith Locke, Mayor Rick Scholl, Council President Doug Morton, Budget Committee member Leah Tillotson, Budget Committee Garrett Lyons, and missing is Claire Catt, and missing is Bill Eagle, which we believe is coming, but Bill Eagle is not logged in yet. And the first order of business is to select a new chair. Do I have nominations?
I nominate Doug.
Second.
I have a nomination and a second. Is that an agreement to serve Mr. Morton?
I believe, one of the issues that is tough for the council, three of the council members out of the 5 will be running for their position in November. So I believe Councilor Topaz and myself are the only councilors who are guaranteed to be on the council next year. So with that in mind, I would accept that, yes.
Okie dokie. All those in favor of appointing Councilor Morton to the budget chair?
Aye.
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 Any say nay? So moved. There's minutes on the agenda that are not in the packet, but I'll let Councilor Morton take over.
Okay, it looks like we are going to approve the minutes from the previous year. And what do we have there?
So,
I don't have anything in front of me at this point.
correct, Councilor Morton. So the minutes that were put into the packet were actually incorrect. They are the Urban Renewal Agency meeting minutes for the actual agency and not the budget committee. So the 2 meetings that are in your packet right now should not be approved by the budget committee at tonight's meeting. We will approve last year's budget committee meeting minutes next year at the next budget committee meeting for the Urban Renewal Agency. So there are actually no meeting minutes tonight to approve.
Okay, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is public comment on proposed budget. With public comment, we have our traditional 5-minute for each individual to make a comment. And being that, is there any comments out there at all? Do you see any, Matt?
I do not see anybody waving at the screen or wanting to speak, so I believe we are good to move forward.
And along with public comment, and we'll just move forward. 2020-2021 budget message. Matt, that's yours.
Thank you. John, did you want to start talking about?
Yeah, I can probably take this if that's all right with the
Perfect.
budget chair there. So the minutes that got included in the packet were for the agency meeting and not the budget, the Urban Renewal Budget Committee. So there's the distinction there, but the budget presentation / administrator's report, when we look at last year's, it's just, I could almost read it verbatim as far as the status of the Urban Renewal Agency. And unfortunately, it's not where we would like it to be. And financially, we are still in our infancy in the early years of collecting increment, but a lot of it hinges on the Armstrong opportunity. If you'll recall from previous years, we had talked about the formation of the urban renewal district boundary Armstrong was talking about a $40 million investment of a big piece of machinery that would have really jump-started the urban renewal agency. So we amended the boundary and took that property in, and we're hoping for the best that investment would move forward. And not only did that investment not happen, but then Armstrong later announced within just probably 6 months of that they were leaving and shutting down. And so that really just took us to a knee on as far as the agency and collecting increment. And we've done some things to understand the financial, redo the projections. You'll be seeing some stuff in the upcoming urban renewal agency meetings. But for now, it's taken a couple of years for the impact of them leaving to catch up. So and really, I was surprised that the urban renewal district area collected any increment at all. But we did get 53,000 in the first year, and then it looks like this year it's fully catching up, and it's only gonna be like $1,000 this year. So what had hoped to be a lot is just a modest amount of money in that fund. And we've been talking with a financial consultant about the status of that, and there are some positive things. By the Legacy Clinic now as part of that boundary, and that investment will be coming on the tax rolls, as well the 240 units apartments. They'll be coming on the tax rolls next year as well. And there's other development in that complex and around in the area that's next year is gonna be a lot better. Is basically what the consultant's been telling us.
Along with that, any industrial, as long as we're on that tack, any industrial kinds of improvements that we're looking forward to in the industrial sector?
Well, yes, the industrial park will have a property that is on the tax rolls, and that'll start collecting increment. And for those of that may not know exactly how urban renewal works, the city collects not only its $1.90, but it collects all of the increment above there's a frozen base. So when a new development comes on, the city basically, the agency gets all of that increment to do all the projects that we have there in our urban renewal plan. So it's kind of status quo. I was going to give an analogy of the house. It's all decorated nice and Christmas lights, and everybody's really proud of it. And then the neighbor next to it has this, I think you even make them in these lights now that say ditto on the side, because it's really this here is a lot like, unfortunately, I wish it was a lot different, but it is moving in positive ways, but it's just not quite as quickly as we'd like. So. And
thank you for shedding light on that. Matt, can you get back to the agenda?
Yep.
Anyone else have anything on the budget message? Matt, any additional
Yeah,
item?
the only thing I want to add to make sure everybody understands what they're looking at, you should see the actual budget on the slide right here. You'll see the 1920 adopted. So this is what was approved last year. We kind of, not knowing the timing of the Armstrong property is why we originally approved $55,000 for the year, because we thought, oh, well, it should be the same as last year. And what we didn't know was the timing issue of the assessment for the Armstrong property leaving, like John has mentioned. So what we're estimating at the end of this current fiscal year is that we will only get about $1,100. So we are not expecting any huge changes this next year, which is why we're budgeting another $1,000. So like John said, there's changes in motion, things that are happening, but those changes will not affect this next year's property tax assessment. And that's all I wanted to add.
Okay, thank you. Back to the agenda. Discussion and approval of the 2021 budget.
I'm sure John and I are happy to answer any questions. If there's not, the slide has the motion to
I'd like to make
approve.
a motion to approve the 2021 amount of 53,000 at the urban renewal.
Motion has been made to approve the amount of $53,000. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And is there any, well, at this time, is there any discussion or questions regarding that motion? If not, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor of the motion of approving the 2021 budget in amount of $53,000 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Hearing none, motion unanimously passes. And we'll go on to our next item, which is adjourn. And so if there's nothing else to be said from any of the chairpersons or the people on the committee.
I just have one thing. I know that we're being
Go ahead, Mayor.
I just know that we're being very cautious about that projection of $1,100 because of Violet's Villa and the veterinarian clinic and other businesses that have been resold in town that fall within our urban renewal, that the price is up a little bit. So I just want to state that we are being very, very cautious with that approval amount. I mean, that is to a fault almost. So doesn't give us a lot to work with. And I do look forward to looking at our urban renewal agency further and seeing where we can amend it in other places. And I think we need to do that sooner than later. As an urban renewal agency and counselors, it is our responsibility to do that.
We'll try to get a meeting, call a meeting in the first quarter of this next year.
Sounds good.
Any other comments before we adjourn?
I guess, I don't know if this is an appropriate comment, but I know that John, you know, in the hallway in passing talked about the new person that is working on economic development in our county that is very energized, and John sounded very hopeful in his report. And I know some of us know that, but maybe not all the budget committee members know that there's a new person taking that role in our county.
Yeah,
So it's not just us, it's that there's a new cheerleader in town.
Yeah.
the Port of, I'm having to say the Port of St. Helens, Port of Columbia County and Columbia County Economic Team have both have gone through some pretty recent changes about in their in leadership and in just the port and their ability to market properties. We're looking at a partnership with them to market some of our industrial properties. The port's also taken a new person on, Mark Ellsworth, to help with some of the small business assistance funds. So if you have having problems with the myriad of loans and grants and opportunities, or just need general support, their support is there to help. CCT similarly has hired some new executive director, at least on the interim, and he seems to be really hitting the ground running and doing a great job. So
Super. That's all I had. I just wanted that to be part of the record.
Any other comments from our directors? Hearing none, I just want to thank you for the faith and asking me to lead this for a year. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, and I'll try to do my best. And I like what the mayor said about a meeting coming up shortly. So for us, that means first quarter of next year for me specifically. So look forward to seeing everyone at that time. Okay, with that, we'll adjourn.
Thanks.
Night.
Night.